Howdy folks, welcome back to Boonedockery. Well, I bet you can't guess what the weather's like today. What? Did you say hot and humid? How'd you know? How'd you know? You're correct. It absolutely is very hot and humid today. And it's miserable. Getting a little bit of a break from it here in the under the canopy, but wow, it's got to be mid to upper 90s today, and it's about 90% humidity. Gotta love it. What we're going to do today is hopefully you got to see how I set up one of my different kinds of camps, different things I do to set it up. But the real reason I wanted to do this video today is to show you a little something I've been working on in the Bushcraft laboratory. And I think you're going to like it. I'm going to get a little bit of water in me, maybe have a little bit of a snack, just to get that blood sugar up. You got to keep your energy when you're doing the YouTubers thing. You know what I'm saying to you? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I bet you do. But I want to do that, and when I come back, I'm going to show you the special stuff I brought out to the woods. We'll see you in a few. Oh, hi. Hi. Sorry about that. I just took a little siesta for a moment, and I am very comfortable. And I would love to continue to snooze, but unfortunately, I got important business to do. And the business I'm about is about telling you a little story. And this story is sad in parts, but it turns out pretty good in the end. I decided to do a solo overnighter after work on Friday night one night. And I threw all my gear in my vehicle, drove to a friend of mine's house, parked my vehicle, hiked about a mile in. Got everything set up, and then I realized I had forgotten my food pouch. I had nothing to eat. And I looked at my watch. I figured, well, you know, I'll hike back to the vehicle, drive back to the house. It's only about a half an hour from my vehicle. And get my food pouch, and I'll be back. So I did. Well, I got sidetracked at the house. A couple of honeydews. And I headed back. And it was starting to get dark. And started hiking back up into the woods. And the moon was already out. And then cloud cover came in. It was getting ready to storm. And the next thing you know, I can't see. It's really, really dark. And where I was camping is on the top of this ridge. It's a really awesome place to camp. But anyway, I was up on this ridge, and it plateaus out. It's sort of flat up on top of the ridge, and all the little spurs that go off of the ridge are the same way. And everything had been clear cut about 50 years ago, so all the trees are identical. And they look the same. And the only trails that were there are really, really old logging trails that were left over from the logging 50 years ago. And they all look the same. So I was a little discombobulated. And I realized I could not find my camp. And I started thinking about this. This is a peculiar situation. I'm nowhere near my camp that I know of. And it's getting ready to rain. And it's toward the tail end of September, beginning of October, so all the foliage was still on, but it was really cool in the evenings. And I camp in areas to where there's a very high population of coyote. The idea of being cold in the rain at the base of a tree with coyote patrolling around just didn't really appeal to me. So I started thinking, it's like, okay, if I try to move around anymore, I'm going to get a whole lot more lost than I am. So I looked at my cell phone, had one bar of signal, and it was almost dead. So I tried my luck, and I called my buddy that was in the house where I parked. And I got a hold of him. Oh, thank goodness I got a hold of him. And I asked him to go out in my car and honk my horn to see if I could hear it. And So he did, and I could hear it. And so I had him on the phone, and I walked toward the sound a little bit, and the clouds started separating a little bit so I could see a little bit of the moonlight coming through. And I asked him to honk it again, and I got a pretty clear vector of where he is coming from. And so I very carefully walked down the ridge, found my way to my vehicle, got my flashlight from my vehicle, and then proceeded to hike back up to camp. And I got there just as the rain started. Folks, let me tell you, that night in the woods was a very humbling experience for me. Not only was I incredibly lucky that things happened as they did, but I also came out of it with a very different mindset and a very different perspective, because I had learned some very valuable lessons. One of the things I learned is that no matter how experienced you are or how much time you've spent in the woods, situations can occur to where you may not be prepared for it. So I put my mind to the fact that I was never going to allow myself to have that occur again. When I left camp that night to go to my vehicle, I thought for sure I was going to be able to get back to camp with plenty of time to have daylight, to do my cooking and everything else I needed to do. The only things I brought with me from camp to my vehicle was what was in my pocket. And then when I left the vehicle, I had a flashlight in my vehicle, but I arrogantly thought, no problem, it's only a mile. I can make it back with no problem. Overconfidence can get you killed in the woods. Since that day, there are certain things I have with me all the time. I call it my everyday carry. That consists of a flashlight, a pocket knife, I take my compass, and just because you never know when you gotta go poop, wet ones. Hygiene's very important. Even though those very few items may appear to be very insignificant, had I had those items with me that night I got lost in the woods, I probably would have been able to find my way back to camp with little to no problem. So even though they may appear insignificant, they are incredibly valuable. That's why I take them with me everywhere I go. Following along with the same ideas in EDC, I started thinking about it. I have a list of things that I take to the woods with me every single time I go. I call them my must-haves. And they do. They go with me to the woods every single time I go. However, my backpacks change. So I always have to switch those items from storage into a backpack, and I take it out. My backpacks vary depending on the amount of days I'm out, the seasons, the weather conditions, a lot of variables. Some of my backpacks have removable lids at the top that I can actually take those off, and they have shoulder straps. And so I can put those items in there, and wherever I need my must-have items, I can just remove the top pouch and take it with me. There's been several times to where I've actually removed it, put it, a water bottle in the pouch, and slung it over my back, and took little day hikes away from camp. And it was sort of comfortable knowing that if I need something, I've got it right with me. So then I started thinking about a way that I can have those must-have items with me every single time I go out and never have to worry about not having them with me or not having a way to separate them from the pack and carrying them with me. I call it my Bushcraft Patrol Rig. This is my Bushcraft Patrol Rig, my BPR, not to be confused with PBR. That's a much different kind of thing. This contains all of my must-have items with a few extras. The idea of putting pouches on a belt and supporting the weight of that belt with a harness is nothing new. Military forces have been doing it for over 100 years. During World War II, the U.S. military was very strict in their guidelines with what they put on their harness. It was bullets, grenades, and canteens. That was pretty much it. Anything else you needed was usually in your knapsack. The Germans took a different approach. Not only did they have those items, but they also had a system on their Y harness to where they could have a Zelt band, which wasn't just their version of a poncho, but it was also a shelter section, so they could combine that with other shelter sections to create a tent. They also had a mess tent, and on the very back, on the bottom of the belt, they had something called a bread bag. That's where they could have their provisions and a few personal items. The best example of that today comes from the British military with their PLCE harness system. Not only do they have space for all the bullets and grenades they need, but they also have all kinds of space for things like rations, cook systems, water bottles, personal items, anything else that they think they might need when they're away from their pack. I'm simply carrying on the idea of that with a bushcraft mindset. Anything that I need for bushcraft, I'm going to have in this harness. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of my Bushcraft Patrol Rig. I'm going to explain why I have things organized the way I do and explain what I have in each pouch. The items that I need to get ready access to quickly, I have on either end. Those would be toward the front on either side of my body. In this one, I have illumination. I have a flashlight. I have my headlamp. I have extra batteries. I also have my little office folder, my field office folder. It has a Write and Rain notebook. It has markers. It has a ruler in it that I can also use as a threading device to help me put my molly rigging back on. Should there be a need for me to remove one of these pouches, I can put it on quickly. This pouch here, I have a Leatherman folding tool, I have my compass, I have wet wipes, I have snacks, I have anything in this pouch that I would need to get through quickly. These two are my ready access pouches. The other pouches I wouldn't necessarily need to get to very quickly, so I could take my rig off to access those. And this pouch is my fire pouch. I have everything I need to make fires in here. This one is my first aid pouch. I have a first aid kit. I also have things to treat sunburns. I have sunscreen. I have insect repellent. In the center pouch, I have my Baco Laplander. I have a small cook pot. I have 550 cord. I have a small stainless steel folding trowel. And on the very bottom of that, I have a heavy-duty space blanket. And I also have space for my Brothers of Bushcraft knife, everything that I need in one nice, neat little package. Now I'm going to show you real quickly how I have these organized. These pouches have elastic webbing in them so that they hold things into position. My compass is in this pouch back here. I have my folding Leatherman tool, some snacks, wet wipes, an extra lighter. Those things I would get to fairly quickly if I need them. This pouch has all of my fire making necessities in there. I have storm matches. I have a military style bandana, all cotton. If I need to make char cloth, I can do that. It's also a spare supplement for my first aid kit. I have a Strike Force ferro rod. I have my pocket bellows. I have a lot of homemade fire starters. Everything I need to make fires. Brothers of Bushcraft knife, right between those, ready access. This is my illumination pouch. I have a headlamp. I have a flashlight. I have spare batteries. I have my little field office that I keep my Bushcraft journal in, which is a Write and Rain notebook. Spare markers, Write and Rain, ready to access anytime I need it. This is the small ruler. Has standard measurements on it, but can also be used to help thread molly webbing should I need to do that. In my first aid pouch, I have my own homemade first aid kit. I put the things in my first aid kit that I know that I would use. When you buy a store-bought first aid kit, they put all kinds of things in there that you will probably never use. My purpose for a first aid kit is to give you first aid treatment to get you out of the woods, to be able to get you to a professional to take care of you if you need it. Everything I need is right in here. I have spare snacks and afterbite and insect repellent. I also have my sunscreen in my first aid kit, as well as my first aid burn cream in there. And the last pouch, I have strapped to the bottom a heavy-duty space blanket, which comes in handy all the time. And unlike the little emergency space blankets, I have no purpose for those whatsoever. This right here has multiple purposes. It is a shelter. I can make a lean-to out of this. I can collect firewood with this, rolling it over. It's very strong. I can use the reflective side of this heavy-duty space blanket as a signaling device in case of an emergency. Tons of uses for this, other than just wrapping yourself in it to keep you warm. And inside here, I have sandwiched in the lid and the pot of a small cook pot, a Baco Laplander. In this small bag, I have 550 cord, Gorilla Tape, and a stainless steel folding trowel. Those are all items that I do use when I go out. However, those are not things I necessarily need to have at the ready very quickly, so those can stay in the back. The little cook pot is not necessarily designed to be a cooking system. It is designed primarily to be able to sterilize water, boil water, to be able to transfer to my Nalgene bottles or my Camelback. And everything fits right back together, nice and neat, and goes right back in to this small back pouch. Everything I need on my body 100% of the time. I just remembered I didn't show you the contents of my Camelback. The Camelback is a 3-liter Camelback, which gives me a sufficient amount of water for any day hike coming out of camp. There's an external pouch here in which I have water purification tabs. One of these tabs will purify 1 liter of water. There are 3 tabs in this pouch and 3 tabs in this pouch. So I can do 2 complete refills and purify the water. However, if I didn't want to go that route, over here I have another pouch in which I have stored my Frontier Pro water filtration system. Let me show you how that works. All of the Camelbacks that I own have a nice bite valve system. You have a cover and a bite valve. You simply open up the valve, bite down on the rubber opening here, and you can drink your water. However, if your water is contaminated, you might want to consider one of these Frontier Pros. All you do is remove the rubber O-ring, remove your bite valve, insert the Frontier Pro, and you now have a new bite valve that literally you can suck the water straight through the filtration system just like you do with the bite valve. This is a fantastic little piece of kit, weighs practically nothing, fits right in my Camelback pouch. I view my Bushcraft Patrol Rig as one part of a multi-level system. Level 1 would be my EDC, my everyday carry, things I took with me all the time. Level 2 would be my Bushcraft Patrol Rig. That could also be supplemented by a Camelback. That would give me hydration whenever I go out. I can simply remove this from my pack, strap it to my back, and I am ready to go on day hikes away from camp. Now, I genuinely have everything I need to go out for a day's traveling and enjoy myself. While my camp is in the 3rd level. This is everything that I would be leaving at camp, everything I would transport my camp in. This has, my shelter in it, my hammocks, it would be my tent, it could be my sleeping bags, it would have whatever I need, plus extra water and my cook system. That would be level 3, the combination of my EDC, my BPR, and my pack. My PBR is a prototype. It's going to be a work in progress for a while. I'm going to put it through its paces. Things that work, I'm going to leave them alone. Things that don't work, I will change it, and I'll find a way to make those changes work the most efficiently and effectively for me. And here, in a month or so, when I've put it through its paces and I think that I've got a good solid idea, I'll definitely share the results with you. Now, everything has pros and cons, and I'm going to share with you my pros and cons of what I think about it so far. First of all, it has everything I need on me anytime that I need it. By having all of my must-haves on my person, it eliminates the need for that extra space in my pack, so I can actually take a smaller pack. It is infinitely more organized than anything that I've tried before. When I'm hanging around camp, I can take it off, I can hang it over with my backpack and leave it there. I don't necessarily have to wear it around camp, but if I need to go someplace, I can just grab it, put it on, and go. And believe it or not, I've been wearing this thing most of the day, and it's very comfortable. Having all my must-have items on the harness negates the need for a larger pack, so I can use a smaller pack which rides much better on the harness than a larger one does. The harness system distributes the weight distribution beautifully. It's very comfortable, spreads the load out very well, so you don't have one area to where you're going to feel rubbing on the belt because it's too heavy. The weight distribution goes all the way around perfectly. Since it's based on the MOLLE system, if you want to modify it, you can do that very quickly. This is very convenient to be able to take through rough terrain, brush, things like that normally your pack would get snagged up on. You can crawl under logs, you can crawl over things, and you can go through tight areas much easier than you can with a backpack. If you wanted to, you very easily could do several different Bushcraft Patrol rigs. You could have one designed specifically for the winter. You could have one designed specifically for types of environments that you're going to be going to. You could do a minimalist PBR with just the bare essentials, like Dave Canterbury's 10 C's of survivability. You could definitely reduce a tremendous amount of space and weight by just going that minimalistic, if you wanted to. One pro I've realized with using the MOLLE system is the infinite variety of ways that you can reconfigure your harness rig. You have options that are specific for particular items, like entrenching tool pouches, things like that, if you know you're going to be digging a fire pit, So you have an infinite amount of possibilities using this system. Just like anything, there's going to be the cons. Can't have it all good. One of the first things, you got to remember to take it with you. If you leave camp without it, it does you no good whatsoever to have it. And just like any new piece of equipment, it takes you a little while to get used to it. Most people don't wear suspenders anymore, so the idea of wearing something like this around frequently, it's going to take a little getting used to. It's going to take a little bit of time to configure and organize your rig to be what you need it to be. It takes a little more time to figure out the weight distribution, but once you've got it down, you're pretty much good to go. Once you do get it organized and you have it configured the way you want, and you figured out the weight distribution to where it's even all the way around, you've got to adjust your harness. Sometimes that can take quite a bit of doing. Adjusting, putting it on, taking it off, adjusting, putting it on, taking it off, adjusting, to find that right balance of weight distribution for your shoulders and also for your body. You want a good balance with that. That's going to take a little time. If you decide to go the Molly route, it can be fairly expensive. You can investigate local surplus stores and find old surplus harnesses that can do the job just as well. I use the Molly because that's what I already had. The idea of having all of your must-have items in one nice package so you can just grab it and go is fantastic, except all of your must-have items are in one neat little package. If anything were to happen to this, I will have lost all my must-have things. And if you're like me, it's taking a lot of time and probably a lot of money to put these things together. That can be a serious drawback. Being organized is fantastic, but if you design your rig to where there's no extra space for anything else other than those items, you might miss out on the opportunity to be able to have add-on items. These add-on items could depend on the weather, they could depend on the environment, and they can depend on the sole reason why you're going to the woods in the first place. When I look at my must-have items, I pretty much know the weight of those. Your must-have items collectively may weigh more or less than mine. You consider that, but you also have to consider the weight of the harness, the belt, and the pouches. If you're going with an older route, old surplus stuff, or you decide to go mountain man and you choose an all leather route, that's going to add a significant amount of weight to your rig. I did a whole lot of stuff in today's video, so if you have any questions or comments about any of it, please put it in the comments section below and I will get back with you and answer those questions for you. If you like today's video, go ahead and click like. If you like what I've got going on the channel, click subscribe. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest videos, hit the notifications bell. Folks, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope I presented something for you that you could throw in your bushcraft bag of tricks. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.